All right, guys, today in front of me from Bardstown Bourbon Company, we have the Discovery Series batch number 10. This is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. Is this better than the batch number 9? I can tell you batch number 9 was one of my favorite Discovery Series releases as of late. It was, in my top 10 whiskeys of the year last year. How will it compare to the batch number 10? Let's find out. Alright guys, so as I stated, this is the latest release of the Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series. This one comes in at 119.24 proof. This one goes back to actually using all bourbons, so there's no rye in this Discovery Series batch number 10. I did shoot this video a couple weeks ago. However, my microphone went out right in the middle of the review, so I had to scrap it, start all over, hence why this bottle is as low as it is. But let me go ahead and give you guys a breakdown as to what's inside this Discovery Series batch number 10. So it starts out with 68% of a 9-year Kentucky whiskey, 78% corn, 13% rye, 9% malted barley, followed by 18% of a 13-year Kentucky whiskey, 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley, followed by 10% of a 10-year Georgia whiskey, 80% corn, 10% rye, 5% malted barley, followed by 8% of a 6-year Kentucky whiskey, which is 53% corn, 26% rye, 21% malted barley, finishing off with 2% of a 10-year Tennessee whiskey, which is 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. So again, there is no rye in this Discovery Series batch number 10. Guys, let's get in the nose. So first thing I get further into the glass is like this honey roasted peanut that is dipped in butterscotch. Further away, I do start to pull out some like a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon there. So there's some baking spices kind of further away. But again, further into the glass, this one comes off very, very sweet. Again, it's like a honey roasted peanut dipped in some butterscotch, and then some baking spices there to follow. I do start to pull out like a little bit of like some paprika there as well, further into the glass with some of that peanut, some of that butterscotch. And then further away, it started to get a little darker there, like a slight little bit of some like sweet pipe tobacco. Beautiful nose though, guys. Let's get in the palate. Cheers. Man, on the palate, it's like chocolate covered peanuts. Caramel, slight little bit of like a strawberry frosted donut there across the center of the palate. And as it kind of goes back, again, I'm not picking up a ton of rye spice. And again, the proof point isn't too high either. It's 109 or 114.24 proof, so it's not super high on the proof. A little bit of that rye spice there across the center of the palate, like a strawberry frosted kind of like donut there that kind of sits across the palate there too. I like the layers of this whiskey though. This is another one that again kind of plays around with the palate and where the flavors kind of appear, then they disappear, and then they come back stronger in the next sip. I've been down this road with the Discovery Series before, and this is typically what they tend to do to my palate. Let's get the next sip. Still getting that chocolatey kind of peanut there on the front of the palate. Little bit of rye spice there on the center of the palate, with that like a little bit of like some strawberry frosting there across the center of the palate. Still maintaining some of that sweetness, but then like this really nice salted kind of caramel note starts to appear from the middle of the palate and into the back. Definitely some like, it's more of like that salted kind of caramel as opposed to like a normal caramel. Just something in there towards the back of that palate into the finish gives it like a little bit of like that saltiness, like that brininess a little bit. But again, the layers and complexity of this whiskey, it's like some of the flavors are appearing, stronger on that first sip, and then on the second sip, not as strong, but then other flavors kind of appear there a little bit stronger on the palate. Like for me, the first sip was more of that, like that chocolate peanut, and now it's more of that, the flavors across the middle of the palate, some of that strawberry frosting that's kind of making its appearance there. And then now, the flavors I'm starting to pull out into the back of the palate, like that salted kind of caramel is making more of an appearance than that chocolatey kind of peanut there on the front. So definitely plays around with the palate a little bit, but man, I mean, there are a lot of nice layers to this whiskey, and it is interesting too. There is no rye mixed into this Discovery Series number 10. So just straight bourbons this time. Let's get in the last sip, guys. Cheers. See, there's even more flavors starting to appear now, more on the back of the palate. It's funny because it's kind of worked its way from the front to the middle, and then to the back now, where like more of the flavors start to appear, rather than just having them consistently across the palate from front to back on the first sip or second sip. But it's like there's more and more that start to appear, which is like discovering those whiskeys, right? But no, I mean, again, what's nice about it though is the flavors really haven't gone away. It's just a matter of them kind of being a little bit bolder than the other flavors, and when they appear and when they don't. Again, as I stated, it really does kind of play around with the palate, but there's a lot of depth and complexity to this whiskey. I'm still getting that chocolatey kind of peanut there on the front of the palate. Middle of the palate, it's like some of that rye spice, some of that strawberry like frosting that sits there across the the middle, and then into the back. Again, I pick up like a little bit of like some dried leather there on the back of the palate. And then again, that salted kind of caramel there, playing around with like a little bit of that leather as it kind of flows down. It's got a nice medium finish to it, which is nice because it's not super spicy, and there's not a ton of like that rye spice to it. You just get that very little subtle bit of rye spice there that kind of sits across the middle of the palate. So it's not super spicy. It doesn't drink its proof. I mean, that one kind of fooled me a little bit. I definitely wouldn't say it drinks 114. I'm definitely a little lower, that 107, maybe 108 range. So definitely doesn't drink its proof. But the layers to this whiskey are really what makes these Discovery Series kind of like shine through for me. I'm a big fan of the Discovery Series. I love the Discovery Series batch number 9. This would have to be. I would have to put these head to head in a matchup to see which I would prefer. Doing blind, best 2 out of 3, but I mean, I feel like maybe the batch number 9 was a little sweeter on the palate than this batch number 10. Batch number 10 offers a little more of like that darkness and richness. I wouldn't necessarily say more complexity than the batch number 9. I think it's definitely a very complex whiskey. It's very layered in how it approaches the palate and lays across the palate, but it's maybe not as sweet as that batch number 9. I think that's really what attracted me to that batch number 9, was how sweet it was and inviting, and again, how complex that whiskey was and how layered it was. But guys, big shout out to Bardstown Bourbon Company for knocking this batch 10 out of the park. So guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Till next time, guys, stay dusty.